minutes to continue popping in, and we will be off. In the meantime, I can cover a little bit of a couple things here. One of the things we want to promote is we have an opportunity for 6 licenses that are available to CTAM members. It's a 22-person cast, 6-piece orchestra piece called Philly and the Dreammaker. The show is based on a true story about a young man dreaming to be a songwriter and a young and talented hairdresser that will help make his dreams a reality. It's set in 1979, Yonkers, New York, light rock type of music, and it was written to appeal to a wide audience, and they recommend advertising it as ages 9 and up. And get to the rest of the points here. The producer and director are ultimately hoping to record the show and present it for larger licensing companies, and are looking for groups that are willing to work closely with them to maintain the original integrity of the show. And interested groups should fill out an application on the website. It's phillyandthedreammaker.com, and those are they're specifically offered to us free. So,
Michael, do they have to put in like a CTAM code so they can get it for free? Wasn't there a code or something, or is the link part of what that is?
I think the link is what gets them to it. I don't have anything about a code here.
Okay, great.
So, also just to let everybody know, as we're moving forward here, tomorrow night, our program is Presenting Your Best Self at Auditions with Ellie Francis. Wednesday is Prepping for Your Auditions, and that's a 3-member board they're going on there. Kelly Stanley Bone, Penny Nodder, and Stephen Berglund. Thursday, we have Exploring New Multimedia Techniques for Your Set with Peggy Mead Finzerio. And Friday is Introducing Kids to the Technical Side of Theater. So we look forward to seeing you at those also as we move through the week here.
Okay, and just a reminder, Michael's going to introduce our workshop leader tonight. We'll ask Chris to pop back in. Just a reminder what Chris is going to be asking for Q&A probably at the end of his presentation. So just go ahead and use the chat, and we'll get to everyone's questions at the end. And Michael and I will help him with sorting those out. So if everyone want to keep themselves muted at this point, and then Chuck, are you gonna just showcase Chris, or okay, perfect. So go ahead, Michael, and I will get myself up.
Well, I would like to introduce all of you to Christopher Chase Carter, who is the artistic director for Mercury Theater in Chicago. He's also done work with us here at Grand Rapids Civic Theater, and always just a dream to have Christopher around. Christopher started his he studied in Michigan with Grand Valley State University for his Bachelor of Arts, and he is set to choreograph Broadway-aimed production of Children in Eden. And Chris will be speaking to us tonight about embracing diversity and inclusiveness in your organization. Thank you so much, Chris.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk to you all. Hello, everyone. Like Michael said, I'm Christopher Chase Carter. I am the artistic director of Mercury Theater Chicago, and I am excited to talk to you about diversity in the theater and inclusivity. Over the years, I've had a lot of experiences with this topic in general, because being a minority in the theater, I've run into a lot of situations, both as an actor, behind the table, or as a bystander. I've seen it. But with where theater is going, this is a really good conversation to have, because there's so many different ways that we can approach this now, because now that the conversation is open, it's easier to have. So I'm just going to go through my personal experiences, things that I feel has helped me over the years when I found myself in a difficult situation where I felt like there wasn't the talent for diversity, and how I got the people and diversity in. Yeah, and I'm just gonna go through a long little list of things. And at the very end, like they were saying, I'll answer some questions because this is a topic I feel like is a really good conversation piece. And so again, I'm Christopher Chase Carter, Artistic Director of Chicago. If you get a chance, when the world is open, come to Chicago and see a show there. I truly focus my seasons and the vision of the theater. I'm new in this position since the pandemic. About including everybody and making sure that the theater looks like the world that we truly live in and the community and the city that we live in, so that we touch every suburb, every block, every neighborhood, no matter what it is. So let's jump into it. For me, it really all starts with having the vision from jump. Say, I'm going to go into this situation, whether it's a show, a theater, whatever it may be, with the intention to have diversity and include as many people from different backgrounds as you can. And that's truly where it starts, because if you walk in and you want to just do what you want to do, sometimes perspective is everything. And you want to allow yourself to step outside of your own box and your own mind and say, what can I learn and what can I bring by listening to other people and looking at what's around me and including as many people as possible? And it really starts with diversity inside the house. There's a lot of places that are already established, and I'll start there. So it doesn't mean getting rid of people and bringing on new people. It just means including more people and finding ways to, whether it's race, gender, religion, whatever it is, to bring them into the company, whether it's an assistant, set design, costume assistant, there are ways to make things better and to be progressive, so that when the time comes and we do have to shift things around, these people are in place to jump in and, help out and be something new, be a focus. Like what I like to say is, I always love walking into a place where I see myself or I see something completely different that I don't expect. And that's always a good feeling. And it always makes people feel welcome and intrigued and interesting. And, that's really where it starts, is inside the house, having the conversation, figuring out where do we need to implement diversity so that we get the biggest effect and we get the best results. Then we go into jumping into your community and seeing what your community offers you before you go around saying, we don't have the people. This has happened to me so many times behind the table. And I'll explain to you what I mean. There's been times where I've gone onto a project and they don't do the show because they don't believe they have the diversity. They don't believe they have the pool for this show, for that show, but they've never actively tried. And so it's very important that you know where you are and know what's around you, because sometimes it's not always that you don't have it. People just don't know, or they don't know how to get involved, or it just doesn't interest them. And I say this thinking from a community theater aspect. It doesn't interest them because people need time and they really want to dedicate their time to a story or something that, they feel like they can relate to. So I feel that's very important, having that connection with your community and understanding the different demographics and how they operate and the resources they have, because reaching out to the community can also bring in so many different people from different departments. And I have personal experience from that here in Chicago. Where the Mercury Theater is located, it's right in the middle it's right in the Southport corridor, which is right by Wrigley Field, and it's right by North Halsted, the old boys town. It's right by Andersonville. It's right by, the colleges. So there's a bunch around me. We have the Black Ensemble Theater here, and, there's a lot of things around me. And I allow myself to go and be a part of the community so that the community understands that I support them. And so the next time they see me, specifically as a leader, they understand, they have that relationship saying, I am welcome, you've supported me, now I want to support you. That's one big thing that's really helped me as an artist feel like I was a part of the theater. Growing up, I was a dancer, I was a cheerleader, I was all these things. But truly, honestly, it was the mentors and the people that came out to help me and let me know that I was welcome. And it doesn't happen enough. I truly don't believe it happens enough. I know we get busy and we get caught up in things, but taking the time out to support the community and many different people from different backgrounds makes a bigger difference, I think, than people realize, because people start to feel seen and heard. And that goes further than you could even imagine. And myself being in that position, that really, it really actually changed my perspective on theater and really got me, it really made me want to be an artistic director and want to talk to people and mentor people and be a part of the new revolution of what theater is going to be, because theater is ever changing. You know, when it first came out, it was one thing, but now it's changing. We got to figure out how to work together and keep it as strong as it was, but including everybody. Next thing I want to talk about is making sure your show and your season reflects the audience that you want to attract. So what I mean by that is, when I look at a season, I don't want to see the same, you don't want to do a Priscilla, then a Rocky Horror. Then, you want to spread it out. You want to keep something for everybody. And I know that's hard. And usually that's led by ticket sales and with the fear of not selling tickets and not getting an audience. But we have to start taking that risk, and we have to start giving everybody something to enjoy. And what I love about that is when you get a show, like say for instance, you do a Sunset Boulevard, and then you do a Dreamgirls, and then you bring those two worlds together and you do a sister act. That audience blends, and everybody feels like there's something for everybody. So the benefit I see from doing different shows for different demographics, you get the opportunity to do something to bring everybody together, something that everybody can relate to, and it really diversifies and colorifies your audience. And I think that's a beautiful thing. And there's too often I feel the same feel of a season from theaters that's targeted specifically toward a specific audience. And I understand from conversations with other artistic directors, this is what they do as a theater, but how can we take a different approach? What other shows are still in that realm that check off the box of diversity? And I feel like there could be more of that being done. And I think it's very effective. It's a lot of the conversations I've been having over the pandemic. So try it, put yourself out there and try it. The conversations are life-changing, because we don't know everything and we don't see everything, and we don't have everybody's perspective of what they want to see. And when you select a show, make sure when you're reading it, you keep an open mind. So you go through the show, and I know we have the traditional, when we read scripts, we see it the way we see it because we've seen it in the past. We're reading it by the text, but keep an open mind. Like, I wonder if a woman could play this part. I wonder if a Hispanic person could play this part, or a Latinx person could play this part, or I wonder if a Black person could play this part. Keep an open mind. It doesn't mean it has to happen, but it gets your wheels turning, and it allows you to have a different perspective, and it allows you to think outside the box for that next step when you actually do want to diversify and actually take that chance of casting that different person in this role. And usually when that happens, it's usually to make a statement, but sometimes it doesn't affect it. It's not always the statement, because the story is still there. As long as the work is being done and there's honesty within the work and the direction, I think you tend to win. So going on to, I got a long list of stuff, guys. Thanks for listening. I appreciate you all. keep an open mind when you're looking at shows and seasons and you're reading scripts and the message. How can this message of this show affect this community? Because there's many shows out there that are relatable to multiple communities and backgrounds. So relatable across the board. We're just used to seeing it in one way, and we get stuck and we get afraid of change. And don't allow fear to dictate your choice and your decision on what you want to put up and what you don't want to put up, because I find that to be the biggest problem with diversity. Like I said at the beginning of the conversation, don't be afraid to make bold choices. You know, don't let that fear tell you that these people aren't going to come out. You have to try. And we all have a goal, we all have a vision, but until we try, we're not going to be progressive. We have to try. And if you're really that fearful of trying, have the conversation. Like you're gonna hear that word a lot. Have that conversation. Reach out to your close friends from different backgrounds. Reach out to your close friends from the demographic that you want to put on the stage and get a real opinion. And then that leads into, you're having the conversation already, and this person is guiding you. Why don't you bring them on the team as an extra voice? In some capacity. I'm not saying hire them to be the director or the music. They could be an assistant. They could just be, they can come through run-throughs. They could be everything from a dialect coach to, I'm looking for a specific word here. It'll come to me, I promise it will. But that's what leads into that conversation. And that's how we start to infiltrate and implement diversity within the theater, because then that relationship leads to another show and more ideas. And this person becomes a regular, and there's another outlet for you to say, okay, we've touched on this part of diversity. Let's go find somebody else. And usually when you find these people, they have more connections to that area that could really help you with your company and with your theater. And who doesn't want more? Who doesn't want more? So don't let fear dictate your decision. That happens a lot. That happens a lot. That happens a lot. So keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Let's see. I just touched on this. Don't be afraid to take risks. Change is really hard, but it's also progressive. I was just recently doing a show where I had a conversation with somebody, and they kept saying to me, this is not the way it's done. I'm like, I understand the tradition of the way this show is done, but this is better for now. And it's not going to make or break or change anybody's life, because we're not doing anything wrong. We're within the storyline. We're within the vision. The only difference is we put a different person than the ideal person in that role. So you're afraid because you're taking a risk of doing something different. And that's where theater is going, the difference. And it's about self-expression. And when we go back to the beginning of why we're here and why we do theater, it's for healing, it's for self-expression, it's joy, it's joyous. And that all is still there. It's just about what you're looking at. It's about the storytelling. It's about the actor. And if you truly feel something for this actor, but you're afraid because of something else around it, the color of the skin, the sex, their religion, whatever it may be, you should explore it. You should explore it. Let's see. One of my favorite. Have conversations with people from different backgrounds. And see what will bring them into the theater, and their family and their friends into the theater. This happens a lot. People have conversations, but they never follow through. I feel like sometimes people have these conversations to fill out their own mind, to see where people stand, like that. But if you're talking to somebody and that's truly what you're trying to do, listen and follow through and try. And again, the fear factor comes in. Follow through, have the conversation and follow through. I've had I would say a 95% success story with those things. It's about what we don't know. There's a lot of things that we all don't know. And that answers those unanswered questions for me at times when it comes to listening to people that aren't usually that you're trying to get into the theater, and really following through and seeing what happens. You know, nothing bad is going to happen. I don't think anything bad is going to happen with trying. And it doesn't mean like try something big. We can start small, and then we can go, and then we can, so that, and I say start small so that we all understand. And there's a clear understanding, because there's nothing worse than being thrown into a situation when you feel like the outsider, especially when you're a leader and you have an intention, you want to diversify, but you just go, this is what it's going to be, but you don't know what it's going to be because you haven't had time with that background or that community or that person or this idea. And baby steps for those that are afraid to just jump right into it. Sometimes baby steps are the best things. Going on right down my list, I got a bunch of little topics here. Let's see. Make sure the team you have supports the story all around. And what I mean by that is, you do a show that's like A Color Purple, and particularly, or people will prefer a director of color, and which should, it should, depending on the demographic, depending on who's involved, my personal opinion, if I'm the artistic director of Mercury Theater Chicago, and we have somebody from a different background who's an amazing director, I'm sweating in here, it's a little hot. Ooh, get the drip. Ooh, who's amazing director, but they're not of that culture. Let's collaborate. And let's work on this together. It doesn't mean you can't direct it, but we're partnershiping, and we're having the conversation, and I'm helping guide you through the story. And if the director isn't the person whose story it is that they're telling, there's other positions. We have choreographers, we have music directors, we have assistants, we have dramaturgs. We have all these people that we can bring into the situation to have the conversation and help guide. And I truly find that is sometimes the best way to do it, because then it becomes educational and informative, and you learn, and you truly get invested in the culture, and you understand there's something to be said about saying you don't deserve to be here, or you don't deserve to direct the story, but there's also something to be said about having somebody who's not familiar learning, so that they can be a part of the conversation in the future at a different theater. It's like the vaccine, herd immunity. But they take that and they share their experiences with other theaters, and they try to do the same thing, because at the end of the day, it usually feels right. You usually walk away from the situation or the show or project, whatever it is, feeling like, I felt like that went well. I felt like I learned something. I felt like I did something right. That's just my perspective on it. As long as there's somebody there to guide you and have that conversation and oversee it, and there's honesty there. I think diversifying and taking risks and who's directing what, just as long as those grounds are covered, everything is covered. Let's see. I hope you guys are all, drink your water, drinking your things. Thanks for listening today. I'm enjoying you. Thanks for the conversation. So have something. So what's really important to me, not really important, but what I've noticed is that, and I'll take an example. I was set to direct The Wiz in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And we got shut down because of the pandemic, of course. But one thing there was a situation where we were wondering, do we have the people? Are people going to come out? But when you give people time and you put it in their face and you say, this is what we're doing, it creates that conversation. And then people start talking, and then people start sharing the information because people are seeing stuff that's for them. And this goes back to what I was saying, offering up a season that has something for everybody. The conversation started, people start reaching out. Like you get random, like people are like, I'm, from that background who feel like that's their story. I'm a makeup artist and I love this show, and I'm this and I'm that. That really creates conversation with people and intrigues people to want to reach out. And what makes them actually reach out is just seeing that you have something for them. And I feel like that's a really good way to get new people into the theater when it comes to production. The more people start to see that you're consistently supporting the community and consistently telling stories that they relate to, they continue to reach out, and you start to build your team and your database of all these people from all over the place in different backgrounds, different trainings, all the things. And so it's really good to give time, because there's some communities who take a long time to respond to stuff, or and any information, it takes a while to get around. With social media now, it helps out a lot. And I think that helped out a lot with the Wiz, if I'm being honest, because we have the social media there and we have that to our advantage. And I think that's really helping with diversity these days. So as much as you can put out there, as much as you can express, really helps to get the ideas. Because what happens when it comes to why people don't show up, because they have so many questions and they don't know who to ask. So when it comes to, we'll jump into auditions. When it comes to auditions, make sure the language is very clear as to who's welcome and what you're looking for. So there's no confusion. Even sometimes, like I like to do, put a little joke in there, just saying, hey, and I'm talking to you. Like, we're looking for this person, and if you don't think it's you, it's you. Those little things, those little witty things that make people laugh or say, oh, I'll go in because they said it was me. And when they feel like you're talking directly to them, they respond. People respond. Again, it's about knowing. There's a lot that isn't known, specifically with people of color in the theater scene. And so the more information, I think, the better, and the better turnout you have, and the more people show up, and the more you start to be inclusive and diversify. And like I said, we go back to listening and making sure you see these people and hear what they have to say. Because sometimes you run into it and you look at the resume and you go, oh, this is not impressive. But maybe they're just getting their start. Maybe they're the future of. That doesn't mean you have to hire them, but it doesn't hurt to hear what they have to offer up. And if there's a position where you can literally say to them, let's start here and get some training and then move here. Very valuable. And it means a lot to that person, because there may be somebody out there turning them away every single day. And this happens in real life, where it's like, this is not us, this is not you. But the minute you open your doors and say you are welcome, then it welcomes other people. Cool. I'll go on. So if say you don't know where to start, okay? You're like, where do I start? How do I start working on diversity? Let's say on the stage first. Take away behind the table all the things. On the stage, reviews are perfect ways to start. I'm gonna tell you why. Because you start to see. We look at a script and we envision like our favorite actors, but they're similar. They're always similar to the original. Similar. Reviews open up a gateway to create something different and to see something through a different lens and to hear music through a different sound. And it gives the director and the team a chance to see it and experience it and realize it wasn't that bad. The story's being told. I don't know why I didn't think about this in the first place. And I know we all have those moments where we say, I don't know why I didn't think about this before. Duh. this is it. And that is where, for those of you that are wondering, where do I start? That is where you start. And I think it's a good path, because in the show that you traditionally see, you know, whether it's an all white cast in a review, try diversifying and switching the people up. Allow yourself to see something different, and that literally sparks a different. It's like the bug in theater. It sparks something different. It's like, oh, that was unique. That sound, that song sung through that voice, told through that story. You know, there's pain. People have pain and things from different areas of life, and those exude differently with each artist. So if you don't know where to start with a review. A review is always, yeah, I mean, you have freedom there. But that is my advice on where to start if you just don't know where to start. So if you're having trouble, I found this has really worked for me. If you're having trouble getting people to see the notice or see the audition, target areas where you know there's a common, like a grocery store. This is what I'm trying to say. A grocery store or a movie theater. Try to find ways where people see it, you know, because sometimes it's, you know, theater, and I think this is why we don't have as many new people come in. The people who are already involved, they already know where to look. They know where to go. This is their regular gig. They're like, I got to go on this website and see what theaters having auditions this time, blah, blah, blah. But for those that don't, and that are truly looking to get into this, or talented artists or talented people, try going to those movie theaters and those grocery stores or racetracks or whatever it is, and posting that so everybody can see. They will see it and it will bring attention. Usually people think that just posting it online, when you're trying to bring in new people, is all you can do. You're like, well, it's not up to us to go and personally pick out people. You don't have to go out and grab people and go to a specific demographic. Put it in a place where everybody goes, and you will see results. I promise you will see results, because once again, it creates conversation. And then in that situation, it usually creates conversation between a different group of people. And it's not targeted towards, like, say, for instance, you just put it in a Black church, or you just put it at a Jewish church or something like that. If you put it in somewhere where everybody goes, then you're talking to those people, and you're like, it makes you a little bit more willing to participate and get involved. I like to think. And then going into that, when it comes to the auditions and diversifying, we all have a problem, like I said earlier, with seeing what the role was, seeing what the role traditionally was, our favorite version of it, what we fell in love with, and we just possibly can't disconnect from Mama Rose not being who she is. A good practice and a good thing that helped me, and I'm going to go into some personal experiences for me, is literally calling people back from all different backgrounds, you know, for those leads. Even though your vision may not be that, you may see something that you feel is special or something that works. So at every audition, I would encourage you to call a different type for each role. It doesn't mean you're casting that way, you know. It leaves the actors going, I wonder what they're going to do with this production. But once again, my favorite word, it creates conversation. And then they all start talking about, like, well, I got to call back for this role too. Oh, so they have an open mind. They're up for it, which excites people about the next time. And they start telling their friends, and then they get on that bandwagon, and they're like, oh, well, next time I'm just going to go in for that part, because, you know, they have open minds, and what's the word I'm looking for? I can't remember, but you get where I'm going with it. But it really excites people, and it gives people hope. It really does. And it makes them want to come back. It's like, choreographed a production of Gypsy here in Chicago where we went untraditional. We had a Black Mama Rose, and people kept saying to me, that is not, this is that, it's a fable, so it's fine. But they're like, this woman, you can't do that. That's not what it is. And I would hear them, but I know they were speaking for themselves. And I understand. But what happens if we try? We're not going to go to prison. So what would this story feel like from this family? These people, this background, what is the energy of it? What parts, what will tingle differently? And that's what I love about the risk. Gypsy was my risk show, because I didn't know what was going to come of it. I know it was a beloved show. I know it was a popular show. I know people had special places in their hearts for it, but we took the chance and it worked. And it sold out and you couldn't get a ticket because it resonated in a different way. And that's what art is. Art heals, and it makes you see things and feel things that you've never felt before. And that's why we're here. And so that was my risk project. Now, my audition process, where we just started, and granted, when I go through this list, yes, it takes work because you have to alter words and alter scenes and change moments for the time. You're like, back in that time, the Black people, it takes more work. And with scripts and books that are already written, always know it takes work, but it's worth the work to look through the scripts and have the conversation about the text that needs to be addressed. So that Gypsy was my risk show. And the same thing kind of happened with my next show, Pajama Game. So we held auditions. And like I said, we just invited everybody, we didn't care what you looked like. We're like saying, what are you going to bring? How are you going to tell this story? And when you do that, people aren't afraid. They don't look at a Mamma Mia and they literally, because I can tell you this happens. They don't look at a Mamma Mia and say, well, they're not going to hire me. That's not my show. But if you're already looking at different people from different backgrounds, they might come in for a Mamma Mia and be like, it might not be that show in particular, but they feel like they have a chance. And that's what we're going for. And that's how we begin to diversify. Pajama Game, we did that. We called in all these people and, we ended up with an African-American Sid, beautiful singer. How are we going to, people have the conflict of the times and this and that, but the story was told, the acting was genuine, the actors were honest. We did the work, we authored the script, and once again, success, because people are interested in seeing something different and hear somebody else's perspective and being a part of that change and being a part of all of those things. So that was my auditions. That's an audition experience where I found a way to diversify. Not only did we cast Sid as a person of color, we also cast the secretary. I can't remember the secretary's name at the moment, but it just had a whole different dynamic to the secretary, which made it just amplified it. We see the same old show with the same typecast character. Let's spice it up a little. Let's pull more people in. And now all those actors, I kid you not, audition for things that they would never be considered for, that they thought they would never be considered for in the past. And that, I love that because we're seeing it all over the place. And, like I said, it gives people hope. It gives people a lot of hope, and hope is everything. Gender. I directed School of Rock at Grand Rapids Civic. We could not find a Zach, which is traditionally a boy. And I literally was like, do we need a boy? I mean, it's a child, it's a kid. We just need, and in the show, Zach goes by Z. Z can be anything. Zach can be anything. It could be the chosen name. But why not? Why not make Zach a girl? I mean, girls play guitar too. So that was another situation, another area where I felt like I can diversify this cast a little bit more. and put this, put somebody of a different gender in this role. And shows like American Idiot, those review shows that lends itself to those storylines allows you to do that, put like non-binary people in the roles and people who identify differently. Just because of the name doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be if the story lends itself to it. Like you don't want to completely like you want the romances to be honest. And that comes with, you want all those things to be honest. But when it comes to things like that, that's a real life situation where I find myself thinking outside the box, because people are like, we can't find a boy. But then I looked at the music director and said, what about a girl? And, take those chances. And that was a chance where I took a chance on gender and saying, what if we changed it up? And it worked. And I don't even remember anybody asking me about it when the show opened. I mean, of course, the team knew because of the script, but nobody made mention because it was told honestly. And that's what I love about that moment. And another thing about diversifying that I want to touch on, just because you're doing an all Black show or you're doing a Fiddler on the Roof doesn't mean that everybody backstage or in the dressing room has to look like that. And let me tell you why. I know people are like, you need a Black director, you need the whole team. No, you don't, because it's, again, educational. I was working on Fiddler on the Roof. I didn't know much about the culture, but I was working backstage. I learned so much about the culture, and I understood it. I understood why. And I think that's so effective because now I can take a step back and I can listen and I can hear and I can be a part of that conversation saying, hey, this needs to be that. But, surrounding people, like I said, herd immunity, these people walk away from this project saying, you know what, I learned so much about that culture and that I didn't know. And now we can move forward and we can continue to progress and make it better and do all the things, all the right things. So that Fiddler is my learn about the culture and being in this stagehand position. Again, diversifying doesn't mean just on the stage and behind the table. It just means all the way around. In here also, diversify is very important, very important. And make sure you don't listen to that outside negativity. I mean, you can listen to opinions, but when they're coming at you with a negative approach, it's not worth it. Because that most of the time I found it being selfish. But it's not, if they're not approaching it on a question or a conversation, why, then don't let it get to you. Don't let it get to you, because it's a vision you have, and there's a reason why you have that vision and that feeling in your gut. And you need to trust that unless there's a valid reason or red flag that raises a true concern. But most time in these conversations, it's people who can't see it or won't allow themselves to see it because they're so used to routine or the way it was, and they don't want to let it go. So you hear them, you listen to them and you say, I completely understand. I feel that way sometimes, I truly do, but why not try it? And usually they say, do what you do. Take your chance. I mean, good luck. And that's all you need. You just need the good luck. Because I think at that point, even that person is interested to see what happens, and they will be at that show. They will buy that ticket. All right. Always remember, diversity does not only mean race. I'm here. Diversity does not only mean race. It also means religion. It means body type. It means content. Like, what I mean by that is the content of your shows, the type of shows you're doing. It also means gender, and it also means children programming. It means children, getting the kids involved. That's also diversity. If you're always doing this and this and that, doing adult shows, bringing kids in diversifies the place. It brings a whole different energy. And we can't forget about that, because people automatically, today in 2021, when we hear inclusion and diversity, automatically go to race. But that's not what we're trying to do. Then we have people who are non-binary. We have people who are different religions, who come from different backgrounds. And, we have to remember diversity is more than just, it's a lot of things. And we can implement that too. Like again, starting small, baby steps. You know, if you don't, and I say this because if you don't live in an area where you want to do a Dream Girls, but you don't have the people, then we go to how else can we diversify? Because we truly just don't. Because that is a real thing. There's times when you just truly just don't. Then we reach into those other areas of how we can push the boundary, how we can diversify in that area. Children programming, body type, content. You know, the traditional person you see in this lead with the curves and the things, maybe they're not that. And it makes people go like this. The same reaction you get from anything else. Always remember that. All right, here we go. You know, at the end of the day, I'm going to round this out. I've touched on a lot of things. I want to start asking a few questions. At the end of the day, it all starts with just trying. It really does. You have to try, and you have to fight that fear of backlash and what people are going to say and what people are going to think, and stay true to the story and honestly have good intention. That's what's going to make you feel okay about it. That's what's going to make you say, okay, this is not as bad as I thought. But we all have to try. And we're in a good place and a good time in theater where it lends itself to do that. We have that option. It may take a little bit more work and a little bit more digging, but we just need to try and make sure you take all the proper steps to justify your choices. You really want to justify your choices. And when you're a director or artistic director picking out the season, you just stick to, this is why I did it. This is because I wanted these people and I wanted this story to be told. I wanted to see how you would react to that or this. Because we all need to be educated, especially in the theater world. We work in a field where we have the most walks of life and we accept the most walks of life. But sometimes we don't act that way. We don't act like we accept all those different walks of life, all those stories. But we have to do that, because that's the world we live in. And that is the what am I trying to say? That is the career we chose. That's as artists. But I'm going to round it out. I don't want to ramble too much. I know I touched on a lot of stuff. And I'm going to start looking at some questions. Let me look in here, go to the chat. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me look at this. I'm looking for the chat. There we go.
Actually, Chris, the first question comes from Timothy. How do you convince your board to take those programming and to take the risk on the programming and the community when they're hesitant or fearful of losing their core audience?
Sharing something, telling them this, having that conversation about taking a step back. Again, change. Everybody's afraid of change, especially, I hate to say it like this, but older people, older board members, they're afraid of change and they're afraid of the image. They're afraid of what used to be theater, or upsetting the patrons or losing people. But thinking outside the box, you know, the pitch, it's all about the pitch. It's all about the pitch and trust and bringing the right people to the table and just having that conversation. And it's hard. It's really hard because I'm dealing with this right now, but it's about information. It's about knowing. It's about knowing what to gain and knowing why we're doing this. I think that's very important. I think that's extremely important. And I think it's the reassurance of saying, it's okay. It's going to be fine. Let's just try it once. And if it doesn't work, we can try a different approach. We don't want to go back to what we were doing, but you know, like I said, diversity comes from different angles. So yeah, I guess that's my response to that, because that's been my experience. Because I'm dealing with that now. And if I'm being honest, I'm working on a burlesque show, but the older board members are like, oh, I don't know if we want that to be the image. But I'm like, there's ways around it. We do these shows already. So what's wrong with that? But you do it appropriately. It'll be a late night burlesque show, and we'll advertise from a different approach. But yeah, you're welcome, Timothy.
Yep. Dusty's asking, what are some ways beyond community outreach that you can show your actors your theater is truly committed to being open, diverse, and inclusive?
Reflection of the work that you want to put out, examples of what you want to do so that they can see it. Seeing is believing all the time. Creating that chatter, getting the word out. Like I said earlier, talking to those people in that community that you're close to that can help you spread the word. And that has helped for me. That actually helped with The Wiz. People got to talking, and it started spreading like little rumor and little wildfire, and it really helped the turnout. It was an amazing turnout.
It was an amazing turnout. And you kept saying for years to us, to Grand Rapids Civic Theater, we had the resources, but we were hesitant about taking that step forward. And I applaud you for continuing to come back to us and say, we can do this. We can do this. Let me direct us. We can do this. And you're right. We had a fabulous turnout. I can't remember, how many people did you not cast?
I could have cast literally 2.5 full productions of the show.
Yeah.
That
was fabulous.
Yeah. It was a huge turnout. People were excited. They were like, oh yes, this is it's the excitement, it's the hope, it's just seeing it out there. Social media is a beautiful thing. Social media is it when it comes to getting people involved. Sometimes a little controversy really helps. I know I don't encourage it at all, but sometimes I do, because it brings attention to change, because people respond to, believe it or not, you do something crazy and that people don't agree with, but if they actively seeing you make a difference, they want to support, and then they jump on. And they're like, okay, they're doing something. And now you're being watched, now you're being seen. And that, I don't encourage it at all. But it could be flipped. So anytime you get in that situation with diversity and controversy, be very frank and be very forward about our next steps so that people can see it, and then people can get involved, and then they can trust you, and they can know that you're walking the walk and not just talking.
Great. And Jay is asking, how do you approach open-minded casting from the opposite perspective when casting non-traditional actors in roles traditionally for people of color?
One more time for me, Mary Jo.
Okay. How do you approach open-minded casting from the opposite perspective when casting non-traditional actors in roles that are traditionally for people of color?
You look at the script and you see if there's room. And what I mean by that is, does that decision support your vision? It doesn't work in all situations. It doesn't work in all situations, but there is room there for change. My approach, that's a good question. My approach would be getting in that script and creating the moment and justifying why it's this way. Usually when that happens, there needs to be a big reason. There has to be an intention. So I carefully look over that and I evaluate and I say, is it worth it? What will we gain? It's another risk. there are roles that allow that. And, people are going to get angry, but people are going to get angry no matter what. But if it makes sense and you're doing it with good intentions, people will listen. Again, it's the fear of saying, this is traditionally that, but we're doing it on the opposite end. We're doing it on the other spectrum. You can't just go in and be like the Dream Girls are this and that, or you can't do the Scottsboro Boys like that, because that's history. If it's history and it's real, you don't want to mess with it. But I truly believe anything that's not history or real, I think you can kind of get away with it. Not get away with it, but try it and see what happens. I workshop. A workshop is another good way to see if it works. Try it out. Read a scene or two, or with that person, and see how it makes you feel. That's what I would do.
Great. Susan's asking, when can you diversify a role and when should you not?
When it's true. Like I said, gypsy, a lot of people have the confusion about gypsy. We have to remember it is a fable. It is a fable. But when the story is true and its history, don't touch it. Don't touch it. I am a fan, and a lot of people are not fans of this, of some of the hard topics, some of the things that people want to scrap from musicals, like the N-word and things like that. But it is what it is. We can't lock it away. This is what art began. We have to see the original before we progress. We can't progress if we don't know what it was. We can't progress if we don't know how it made you feel. We can't progress if we don't know why we're doing it. So yeah, I guess that's my answer to that.
Okay. Well, another question, when you cast the role of Z with a girl, did she play the role as a girl, or was it just a girl playing the role of a boy? I know the answer to that, but I'll let you.
She played the role of a girl.
Yeah.
She played the role of a girl, and she ran with it. And I had very serious, and she was young. We had some good conversations, because she would literally say, "This is a boy's part," and I'm like, "But you're you, and we're playing you as I cast you and as you live and breathe, because I want this to be honest and real, and you're a guitar player." And that is what we're pushing. We're not pushing your gender right now. We're pushing your talent. We're pushing what the show was about. So I think because we pushed what the show was about, people were so amazed at what she can do that they didn't care what she looked like. Yeah.
Judy's asking sorry, my clock went off. Judy's asking, how do you include the types of diversity you've been discussing when the playwright or the script holder specifically states that you may not make changes?
You either select another show or you talk to the playwright. Those are the only two answers you have for you. And you talk to the playwright or you pick another show. It's their story. There's no way around it. But if why you're making this decision is honest and real, the playwright will listen. I did a show like that, and they're like, "You can't." I'm like, "But this is why." That's a good point, and I would love to see my work from that angle. And that's why you have the conversation, because, like I said, when a writer writes something, they see this is their vision. Same thing when you direct, this is what you want. But if you allow yourself to let them see in a different light, and it's really hard with a playwright because, they work so hard on this, they don't want anybody, you have to convince them. Or you just pick another show and find another place for that show. If you still want to do that show and do what the playwright requests. But like I said, it makes up that season, that trickle of work that you're doing that, that can support that. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Something like that. I hope that answered your question.
If anybody else has any other questions, please type them in the chat really quickly. But I've known Chris for a long time. I was his dresser way back when for Dream Girls. It's how, were you in Grand Valley at that time?
I was.
Yeah, so I know that he has a lot of experience with a lot of different things. If I don't see anything in here, JR, why don't you hop back in too so that you can wrap this up?
And for those of you that are wondering why I'm coach, I coach dance. I coach dance team and cheerleading. So that's why it says Coach Carter.
I jumped on with him and it's like, what do you mean, coach?
But I've had a great time chatting with you all. Thank you so much. Again, you know, this is where theater is going. And again, I'm here for a conversation. I have an email. You can reach out to Mary Jo or anybody if you really want to further this conversation with me. I would love to create a Zoom and to have this conversation. If you truly have any questions, we can go further into details about how do we solve this problem. And I'm saying this now, let me be your gateway to the beginning of diversifying. We all need that. And sometimes we don't know where to look, but hey.
Well, Chris, we thank you so much too. You're always a joy to have.
Thank you. I had a good time.
Well, awesome. Yes. Thank you, Chris, for doing this for us. And again, thank you for everybody for attending. Make sure you are checking out the rest of the week. We have a full week of great events. On tomorrow night, we have an acting class from her first name is Ellie. Mary Jo, help me with the last name. I'm so sorry.
Ellie Francis.
Thank you, Ellie Francis. She's from Grand Rapids. And she's going to be talking about actors and giving tips on how to sell yourself and how to make the directors want you in an audition and in rehearsals. And then on Wednesday, we have a directing roundtable, which will be very exciting. We have 3 directors talking about what they do before an audition. So the prep before an audition. So we're talking, scheduling and concept statements and just everything that goes into the directing process before you even get to the auditions. And then on Thursday, that's our tech night. And we have a SVSU professor, and she's going to be talking about multimedia and how to use it on stage and what is out there to use. We're talking projections, we're talking special effects. Should be a really interesting conversation. And then on Friday is our youth night. It's a special night. We have collaborated with technical directors, technical artists from all over Michigan, and put together a video of what they do and how they do it. And that is for kids to hopefully get to see that and get excited and want to join technical theater. So lots to see. So hopefully everybody can come back the rest of the week and enjoy our spring conference. So again, one last time, thank you to Christopher. And thank you to everyone, and have a great night. So thank you.
Have a good night.